So hello, we are live on Facebook. It is the first time I have been live in a long time because I have moved house. So I am joining you from my latest timeline shift, and I'm excited to be here with you live today. It has been a while since I have been live. So a warm welcome to everyone here today. And I have so much to share with you. So for anyone that heard last week's podcast episode about expansion, I said there are maybe 20 episodes in what I want to share with you around what has happened for me over the last few months and how I have shifted to a new place, a new timeline. And today's episode in particular, we are going to go into looking at depth. And the reason I want to talk about depth is because one of the biggest reasons why I see women not achieving at the level they want to achieve at is because you're not being met at your level of depth. So if you are, which most of you are, sensitive, neurodivergent, intuitive, psychic, let's start with a little bit of neuroscience. Some of you may or may not know that my background was in science. My background was in neuroscience. I studied psychology. I went on to do further study in positive psychology. I used psychology in my 15-year corporate career that I had. And then in 2018, I had this huge awakening into my gifts, and I now bridge the two, the science and the spiritual. And for those joining main character May, we are going into this in depth around my bridge method to how to bridge this together, the science and the spiritual, and the steps for you to take to step into your main character energy in May for your expansion. Because I know if you are here for big things. And this can feel like a disconnect, right? Like you're here for big things. Like you have always known. I can remember being a toddler, 3, 4, 5 years old, and feeling like I don't belong here. I didn't grow up in a very nice area. It was quite rough. Me and my sister weren't allowed to even play outside because it wasn't safe. And the whole time I was there, I felt like I did not belong there. I'm just checking that we are still recording and we are still live. Okay, I felt like I did not belong there. So many people are, we hear about this, right? We're conditioned by our parents, by our environment. But I have always felt, and I know that you have always felt, that there was something different, that there was something more. I knew at that age, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever that age was, right? I knew there was something more. I was like, I know this is not me. This is not me. There's more to life. There's more for me. Like the life of my dreams. Like I know there is something else there for me. But when we are sensitive, when we are neurodivergent, when we are intuitive, right? This is where that disconnect starts to happen, because it's like we end up in this push-pull dynamic of I'm too much, I'm not enough. I'm too much, I'm not enough. Okay? I know certainly for me, it was like, I know I'm made for more. I know I'm made for more. I know there's this big vision, this dream, this life. I know I can. I've always just been able to hold on to that delulu of no. I know there's more. Okay? But then at the same time, having a sensitive, intuitive, psychic brain that's picking up, so let's go into a bit of neuroscience here, right? The likelihood is that you have, well, not the likelihood, you do, right? If you're here watching this, if you resonate with me, you have more sensory receptors in your brain. You literally have more sensory receptors in your brain. So when you go into an environment, you are picking up so many more pieces of information. If you think about it, like the average person picks up, I don't know, 40 million pieces of information. Okay? For you, it is so much more. Because you have those extrasensory receptors in the brain, which you are here at this time with these things. And this is why I have been rejected from like the neurodivergent communities, because it's like, oh no, I've got these sensory issues and it's a problem. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is what you're here to be paid for this. It's just that you're not in alignment. Like, you're here to be paid for this. You're here with these gifts for a reason at this time. Like, this is meant to be your work. And let me know if you resonate with this. Like, either too much or not enough. So what would happen to me is I would get overwhelmed. My sensory receptors would like take on so much information, or, you know, in the past, I would go into like misaligned places, misaligned situations, and my sensory receptors would get used for the wrong things. And then I'd go into not enough. And then it would be like, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I want to be normal. Why am I not normal? And then this vision would come in and I'd be like, let's go. You know, this is the big vision. This is where I know I'm headed. I know I'm made for more, right? I know I'm made for more. And then what I used to be met with was then like, oh, okay, maybe I'm too much. Just tone it down, calm it down. Okay. So I was constantly in this push-pull between not enough and too much. Okay. Let me know if you resonate. Like, you're between those. And what I want to say to you is the reason you feel this push-pull, the reason you feel the misalignment, the reason you felt the burnout, the reason you've pendulum swung between this, like, I know I've got this big vision, and then you fall back into, you know, maybe I'm not, you know, maybe I'm not enough, right? The reason is because you are here for depth. You are here for a deeper level. So anything that you have done up to this point that has not seen the success that you knew was possible for you is because you are not being met fully at your level of depth. So anything that is surface level or cookie cutter or follow this certain strategy will not work for you, because you are deep. You are complex in like the most loveliest ways. And this was something that, like, even yesterday, like, I'm not perfect. I'm still working through this myself. And even yesterday, I had something that just went into, just could have dysregulated me. And what I did was I allowed that awareness to come in about how I was feeling. I allowed the emotion to pass. And this is the thing, right? Emotions only last 90 seconds. But when we attach something to them, this is where it becomes more complex. So yesterday, I just allowed something to come up, to move through it, and then choose differently. So when you're met at your depth, just need a sip of water. When you are met at your depth, it is understood that you have more sensory receptors in the brain. You are intuitive, you are psychic, you might be more introverted, you might really thrive from like a peaceful, quiet life, right? And when you're held at your depth, this is what you are held in. That you are here and you are meant to be using those sensitive superpowers for your work in the world. Hi Sarah, thanks for joining live. Happy Tuesday to you. How are you? Okay, so it's about realizing, we firstly have to realize this, right? So this is the reason why you might be carrying that I'm too much, I'm not enough, I'm too much, I'm not enough, because you are a deep person. You're sensitive, you're intuitive, you're psychic, okay? So what does depth really mean? So your depth, and this is, this is, when I say you're the 1%, like you are, and you're also the 0.00057 made up figure percent, because you are here to do things in your own authentic way, okay? What's right for me won't be right for you. And the important thing when being held at your depth is also knowing that your depth is very authentic and very aligned for you. So this is why the surface level doesn't work, because the surface level doesn't ever get to what does Sarah need. Sarah's here live, so just for example, the surface level, the cookie cutter, will never get to what is Sarah here to do at a soul level, okay? And Sarah might know that. Sarah might know that. She might have a nudge. She might follow her body's yes, no, her body truth. And she's like, this feels really good. This feels like my aligned work. But she might also be like, I could really do with a little bit of exploration on that, to have some space for my soul to speak, to have some space for me to really understand what is that sacred yes and no in my body. What is really in alignment for me? And this is why you need to be held at your depth. And if you think about this, and I'm not bashing New Age, I'm not bashing anything, but if you think about like some of the surface level programs or surface level spiritual tools, anything that's kind of badged as New Age, like it's not New Age anymore, it's old age, right? This has been around since the 1970s. This has been around since the 1970s. A lot of these practices, a lot of the spiritual practices that we have now that are mainstream, have been around since the hippie movement in the 1970s. So they're not New Age anymore. And because they've been around since the 1970s, which is so interesting, right? Being the bridge, the science and the spiritual, this is also the same for science. A lot of the practices that a lot of organisations in this world are using, they're still using research from the 70s. They're still using tools like Myers-Briggs, which, don't get me wrong, like, I think it can be great fun, but it's very limited, it's very fixed. It doesn't give space to, for that allowance that the brain does change, and that there is 90s, noughties, today's research in neuroscience that we can use, okay? So whether it is the science, whether it is the spiritual, what we have to realise is a lot of these mainstream things, and we also have to question behind that as well. Like, why is it that these things are being pushed out to us? Why are we being told the best way to awaken spiritually is this? Like, what is the agenda behind that? Like, who does that benefit? I think it's always good to answer these questions, right? And I won't get into this from the science angle because this is a deep rabbit hole, right? We all know why certain things are in medical journals and certain things aren't. We all know that, right? I think this has become very clear over the last few years. Anyway, we won't go into that. But you are here for depth. So this is why these things aren't working, because A, they're just not up to date anymore, and B, because you are deep, you are complex. So this is how I see depth. I literally visually see someone like you who is here for depth. I see it in your energy, and what I see is a capacity to access all dimensions. I was making a list this morning, like, what is it that I see? You have a capacity to access access consciousness, okay? Your consciousness, the collective consciousness, the collective unconscious, to look at your dark, your light, to look at the dark, the light, okay? So how I see this is like, you're here, and then you have access to all these dimensions around you. You go beyond 3D, you go beyond the 4D, which is where that kind of false light exists, where some of these new age practices exist. You go to the 5D and you go beyond. Like, you are deep, and you are here to be able to access all of those dimensions and the dark and the light. And what I want to say to you is that because of your depth, you may have been through some dark experience. You may have been through the dark night of the soul. You may have been through things like spiritual warfare and, you know, really dark energies, because the darker the dark, the lighter the light. Okay, the lighter your light, the more the capacity you have for being multi-dimensional, for being able to heal your trauma. And trauma, again, like a lot of these new age practices do not consider trauma, do not even think about trauma or somatics and getting that out of the body. So this is why in all of my spaces and programs we do somatic, we do shadow work, we do subconscious and energy to like bring that all together, because the biggest thing that keeps people stuck is that they are multidimensional, but they can't access these other dimensions because they're trapped in the 4D because of their trauma. Okay? So you're multidimensional, you can access anything, you can create literally, I'm literally looking outside right now at my 3 oak trees that I accidentally manifested to be here. Go and see my post on this. I did a post on this on Facebook and TikTok, because when I was just being silly and I was actually I have it here for those on the video. For those not on the video, I recommend you go and look at the post. Let me see if I can find it, because I actually have my notebook with me here where it is. That was good timing. Normally this notebook is downstairs when I meditate in the mornings. It was September. Here we go. So it was September last year. Let me see if I can try and get let's see if I can get it on the screen. Ooh, hang on, this way, without showing you my whole journal. There we go. Can you see that? So this was the old house at the top. Old house sold with the removals van, and the bottom house was, here's my silly doodle drawing of the new house with the 3 trees, and out of the window right there I have 3 oak trees. Okay, so by understanding, and now I've lost my depth notes that I wanted to talk about today because I got carried away with showing you the picture. There we go. So by understanding that you're here to be held at your depth, what you can do, which is what I'm going to share with you in Main Character May, we're actually going to work through this over the 21 days, is we're going to work through the steps that it takes to hold yourself at that depth for you to expand. So this is how I created this timeline shift right now of being here, was that knowing. And we have to know first, right? We have to know first, like, you are here for big things. Like, what you are seeing in your visions, what you're feeling, like, that's no accident. You are here for big things. So any limitations that are holding you back are where you either feel too much or not enough. There might be some trauma to heal, there might be some somatic practices, there might be some beliefs, some energy clearing, and we're going to work through this over the 21 days in Main Character May, so that you are fully held in your multidimensionality, where your sensitive superpowers, that is the norm. You are being met at your depth in this space. Like, I see you, you are sensitive, you are gifted, you are intuitive, you are here for big things. And you know what? To create that next level life, it takes bravery and courage. But not the bravery and courage of, like, you know, bro marketing, push on through, not that type of bravery and courage. It takes bravery and courage to actually follow an aligned peaceful, calm life. I have created a peaceful, calm life, which sounds light and fluffy, but it took grit, determination. It took me having to rewire myself not to people please, not to push through a no, because that was my corporate life. Push through a no for 15 years into burnout. And I've had to rewire that, or had to, chosen to rewire that into, I have the bravery and courage to stand up for myself, to create this peaceful, aligned life. And I will no longer go against a full body no, ever again. And I had the biggest lesson of this with my move. The last house, the last location was not a full body yes. And remember, if it's not a full body yes, it is a no. And I like to think by sharing that through that pain of that experience and that journey that I had, that made this sacred yes leap even more worthwhile, even more beautiful, even more nourishing, and something that I could receive after that experience. I like to think that I went through that, and the pain of that, even if that helps one person, for me to share that and my experience of going against my body 3.5 to 4 years ago, like, it is just not worth it. So I will no longer sacrifice for others. I will no longer go against my body when something is very clearly a no. And there's no fault in that. There's no shame or blame in that, because 4 years ago, I didn't have the authority that I have now, and didn't have the evidence that I have now, that when I only follow my sacred yes, this is where, I just saw 2222 at that moment, this is where magic happens. This is where your alignment happens. This is when you're truly met at your depth. Okay? Because it is your body that feels that depth in you. Your mind could never comprehend, or anyone else's mind for that matter. How many other people's minds like to try and have input into what we do, right? Your mind could never understand the complexity and depth of your energy, right? How many times do you say, I did this thing and then I felt like drained, or I did this thing and then I felt excited and it made no sense? It makes no logical sense. And trying to explain this to somebody who is not aware of energy and doesn't have that level of depth, like, there's literally no point. Because your mind cannot comprehend your level of depth. Your mind cannot comprehend the magic of the accidental 3 trees manifestation. Like, you can explain that. There's a huge crow in the tree now. You can explain that to a point with the RAS in the brain. Like, did I draw that picture and then condition myself to look out for places that have trees? I actually didn't, because I didn't even know they were here. In fact, when I viewed the house, I didn't even notice them. Like, I knew it was peaceful, I knew it was quiet, and it felt green, but I didn't, like, that didn't fully land, maybe subconsciously. But there were no pictures of those trees on the listing on Rightmove. So you can only explain this with science, you can only logic this to a point. And as we know from the research in the quantum field, it is so, like, quantum particles are so random. Like, you can't logic your way into it. You can to a point, and you can say, we know that when we put intention and attention on something, that it moves towards us, that it starts to organize itself in a pattern. We can say, like, logically to a point, But you know, with that depth that you are here for, that it goes beyond this for you. Okay? You know that magic is available. You know, I was having this conversation with a friend yesterday, that you can't always know. Like, sometimes you will do what we were saying is, like, sometimes you'll do one thing and it'll work out. You'll do that thing again and it won't. Or you'll do something that you thought was really logical and it works out. Then you do something really illogical and it works out, right? And you can't, it's so random. You can't quite like figure out exactly what it is, and you're never going to figure it out logically. But what I will say to you, like, the number one thing that I have seen in data from myself and working with hundreds of clients is it comes back to that body truth. It comes back to that sacred yes and sacred no. I have never seen a sacred yes turn out badly. But every time I have gone against, or I've seen a client or someone else go against a sacred no, it never works out. So that is the one thing, which is why I'm always going on about sacred yes. Like, if you are deep, which you are, and you are multidimensional, and you are sensitive, and you are intuitive, and you are gifted, the one common denominator, plus my bridge method, which this is part of, which we're actively going to work through in Main Character May, this is the thing that we do know works, okay? And that's the energetic side, right? The energetic side, the body, and there's some science behind that. And then what we've also got is the research that I talk about in my TEDx. So the research I did in my TEDx, I did on 180 people, and the activities that I talk about in there, that also had a dramatic impact on shifts, and particular in people that were sensitive and intuitive is even more effective for those, okay? So do have some science. I did my own research. I even ran it through a statistical program to see if it was statistically significant, and it was, okay? So I do have the science, but I also know on an energy level, if you can hold yourself at your depth and know there are deeper layers, levels, multi-dimensionalities, timelines, lifetimes, like, if you can hold yourself there, then others can meet you there. If you can, this will also lead you to those spaces where you are held there as well, when you meet yourself there. And this is the space of Main Character May, where you will be held in your depth as standard. So if you are wanting to be held at this level of knowing that you are deep, you are multidimensional, you trust your intuition, you can step into that leadership role without losing yourself. And anchoring in, it is safe to be seen, it is safe to receive, it is safe to be in your power. Then this is what is for you. And we are doing it 21 days for just £21. And it is free if you are a Quantum Queen member. And if you're not already a Quantum Queen member, you can join the membership for just £23 more and upgrade Main Character May. Is an absolutely amazing, amazing offer. And if that's not enough, I was guided to share some one-to-one support. So there is the option to upgrade to VIP for $88, and you get a one-to-one with me. This is not only is this 30% off my usual one-to-one price, you're getting all of main character May, the whole 21 days in that space. The 2 Zoom calls, the activations, the nervous system regulation, the somatics, the amazing community of aligned women over those 21 days. And the techniques that are proven by science and evidence in energy that lead to a space where you work, rest, play, like these concepts of work, rest and play just flow for you, just flow from one to the other. Your nervous system feels safe. And you're in that sustainable expansion, okay? You're not being pushed into, like, trust me, I've been there in the past. Like, yeah, I'm going to do this new thing. It's really exciting. And then you can't hold it. Okay? This is about sustainable expansion, creating the brain pathways, creating the energy, creating that expectation of multidimensionality for you to expand. And the total cost of main character May, I worked it out bit by bit, what each bit is worth, is £1,500. But you are getting main character May right now for just £21 for 21 days, or 88 if you want to upgrade to VIP. So if you've been thinking for a while, if you've been on the fence and you've been thinking, I want to work with Gemma one-to-one, then this is your opportunity to jump in. There is only 10 one-to-one spots to go deeper, to hold you in your authentic alignment journey that is completely in alignment with your soul, your blueprint, and what you are here to do. So thank you everyone watching on the live, on the video, and have a beautiful rest of your week. And I have popped the link to main character May below. Any questions, just reach out to me. If you are listening to this on the podcast, I absolutely love it when you share it to your stories. I love seeing it on the little screens in your car. So yeah, please tag me, let me know how this landed for you today, and lots of love for the rest of your week. Goodbye everyone on the video. I'm waving. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching today.